Concerns continue to grow over the rising cases of student deaths across the country. A human rights advocate Make a Difference initiative raised the alarm at a briefing in Abuja, calling on parents to ensure regular medical examinations for their children to detect and manage potential health issues.
Recent cases include a 4-year-old Miguel Ovoke in his pre-primary class at one of Brick Hall School in the Gaines Village area of the Federal Capital Territory, who died on April 24 while eating. The Make a Difference group referred to other reports across the country of sudden death of students while facing disciplinary action from their teachers.
Miguel, for instance, had tonsillitis. So with a meat that goes in the meatball, remember what tonsillitis is like. It already chokes the airway. Okay? So you now have meat there. You get stuck. But if this information is disclosed, naturally, whoever is the caregiver in school at that time sees meat will immediately say, no, it's a no-no. Okay? Or maybe the meat will be cut in much smaller piece, or we insist on fish at such stage. So it is for a case like this and many other cases that we are saying that if we must protect the future of Nigeria, which is our little ones, our children, then we must take legislative action.
Another case is that of Joshua Daniel Ejibo of Veritas University, who died on May 2nd. The cause of his death is yet to be ascertained.
Who was said to have slumped while in the gym. That's the claim of the school. Whereas the family is saying that something untoward has happened. We want to use the opportunity to call on the FCT Police Commissioner to please unravel this. Autopsy, we understand, have been conducted. It needs to be disclosed and there must be a follow-up so that...
The Make a Difference initiative also wants parents and school authorities to close ranks and ensure better protection of children in their care. Ogie Ihimekne, AIT News, Abuja.
Well, joining us from via Zoom is Lemi Ugegbe. He's a human rights advocate, also the convener of a group known as Make a Difference Initiative. Lemi, good to have you on the News Hour.
Good evening. Great to be with you.
Great. Now, Lemi, I know you've been a vocal voice on this issue, but from what you've gathered so far, why do you think this issue is becoming rampant across the country?
Okay, I really do think, and that's the reason we are calling for legislative action. I think that there is a need for all stakeholders, parents particularly, to begin to conduct periodic medical examination, genuine and thorough medical examination of their kids. Because there are cases, the cases are rampant now. Remember last year, there was a case of a teacher who was said to be whipping a student and the student fainted and passed away through that process. We've had similar cases in Enugu, in Delta, and one other case in, I think, Abaji and Kuje in Abuja, where cases like that of students suddenly collapsing. You and I know that as much as we decry and prohibit corporal punishment, like flogging, like caning, like whipping a child, we know that definitely it's beyond the whip that has led to such death. That means the child or children in these cases may have had a health condition that was a medical condition that was hitherto unknown to even parents. So we need to begin a campaign where parents will understand that when you are asked to do a thorough medical examination, because you are in Nigeria, you know that most times when they say, okay, bring a medical report to resume in the university or to resume in a secondary school, most times parents just go and get the, general paper that somebody signs and says the child is fit. But we need to do advocacy and enlightenment at a level where Parents must know that people could have underlying health conditions, and this can lead to sudden death. That is on one hand. On the other hand, there are issues of a bit of maybe lack of knowledge. For instance, in the Miguel Ovoke case in Brick Hall School, you would find that a child of 4 years, unfortunately, after all the controversy and all that, the autopsy report eventually confirmed that that child actually got choked by a piece of meat, assorted meat, a meat offal that he was eating. So at 4 years, perhaps we should begin to enlighten parents and caregivers to know that at such tender age, things like offal, assorted meat as we call them, are not really very healthy for kids, very safe for kids. Perhaps we can emphasize fish or eggs instead of, even for an adult, if you are a bit careless while chewing on a meat offal, it could get stuck in your lungs and you will begin to gasp for air. So it's important that we do what is necessary for parents and caregivers, including schools where they actually also do provide food for their students, to know what the best practice is, what is safe for consumption.
Okay, it's like you've answered most of the questions I would have liked to ask, but just before we let you go, can you tell us, it appears as if your concerns are torn between negligence on the part of parents and the teachers, and then there's hints of brutality, on the part of school teachers too. Which are the biggest concerns for you as you go about this campaign?
No, the major concern is a need for us to have legislative action that will make it mandatory for parents on a yearly basis, at least every academic session, that they provide genuine medical examination reports of their children to the schools. That way, schools will know what the health status of a child is and know the kind of things to expose or not to expose the kids to. Apart from that, it will, we know already in the 21st century that issues of corporal punishment have been prohibited. But as you and I know, it is not the attempt at the teacher using a whip that actually would really lead to something as death. Okay, that could provoke it, because if a child, for instance, has a heart condition and the child, in fear, in anxiety, could immediately lose its breath and could lead to a cardiac arrest. So emphasis remains that if we know that the child's condition is such that he has a weak heart or is asthmatic, you won't expose a child who is asthmatic, for instance, to a dusty environment. If the child has a weak heart, you would also know better than to, for instance, put the child in a position where he has to be sprinting 100-meter dash, or even attempt at any point, whether provocation or whatever, attempting to use corporal punishment on a child. So ultimately, while we preach against corporal punishment and all, it needs for us to know that, for parents to know that it is in the interest of their children and for the future of Nigeria for us to have medical examination, genuine one.
All right.
Okay, I think we're just gonna have to leave it like that. We can go on and on discussing this. Perhaps more opportunities will come around for us to take up the issue.
Thank you very much, Lemi, for giving us insight on this issue. Lemi Ugebe is a convener of a group known as Make a Difference Initiative. He's also a human rights activist. Thank you once more for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you.
And moving on now on the news, the Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara has stated that no administration in the history of the state has met with the kind of challenges and sabotage suffered by his young administration in the last 1 year. He says his administration was able to pull through with God's mercy, as well as the prayers and support from the majority of the people as they continue to stand by him.
It's another Sunday and River State Governor Sim Fubara is in church to give thanks and praise to God. On this Sunday, which coincides with the 2024 International Father's Day celebration, Governor Fubara and Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, are at the Royal House of Grace Church in Port Harcourt to attend the child dedication of one of their friends. The occasion provides Governor Fubara and the CDS the opportunity to speak to the congregation.
We will continue to uphold what is right, what is just,